Welcome to the deep dive. You know, when many of us think about Thailand, we picture these amazing sunny beaches, the food, the culture, maybe even living there. It's so easy to imagine settling down, perhaps buying a nice place, maybe a villa overlooking the sea in, say, Phuket. But then comes that big question. Can you, as a foreigner, actually own the land there?
And the short answer is, well, it's not quite as simple as you might hope.
Exactly. So today we're going to dive deep into why that is, and maybe more importantly, the ways you can navigate the system if you want to secure property in Thailand.
Yeah, and to help us break this down, we're drawing on some great insights from foreign land ownership in Thailand, a guide. It's put out by Ocean Worldwide.
Ah, yes, Ocean Worldwide. They're based in Phuket, right? Since 2004.
That's them. A luxury real estate agency really focused on places like Phuket, pronounced Phuket, and Koh Samui. Their director, Sandra O'Neill, she's helped literally thousands of families and investors. They really know their stuff on the ground there.
That's good context. So our mission today is to really unpack these rules for you, our listener. We want to pull out the key takeaways, help you understand what matters most without getting totally lost in legal jargon.
Right, so you feel informed, maybe ready to think seriously about your own plans.
Okay, let's get into it. The very first thing to understand, the fundamental rule.
It comes down to the Land Code Act, and it's pretty clear. Direct land ownership is basically reserved for Thai nationals. Full stop.
So it's a strong protection for Thai citizens regarding land.
Absolutely. It's designed to keep the country's land resources primarily in Thai hands. So you can't just show up, pick a plot, and buy it under your own foreign name. That's the baseline.
And trying to sort of skirt around that.
That's where you get into trouble. Trying to bypass this, even accidentally, can lead to some serious issues. We're talking potential fines, even jail time. The law is enforced pretty strictly on this.
Wow. Okay. So are there any exceptions at all to that main rule?
There is one, technically, under Section 96 bis of the Land Code. But, hold on, it's very specific and rarely used for typical buyers.
How specific are we talking?
You could potentially own up to 1,600 square meters. That's about, what, a third of an acre for residential use? But, and it's a big but, you need to invest at least 40 million Thai baht.
40 million baht. That's over $1 million US.
Exactly, in specific Thai bonds or approved assets. And you need special permission from the Board of Investment, the BOI, and the Minister of Interior.
Okay, so that's a massive investment hurdle.
And even then, if you get it, the ownership right is personal to you. You can't transfer it. You can't leave it in your will. It ends with you.
So bottom line, for someone looking for a holiday home or a retirement spot, this exception isn't really a practical path.
Not at all. It's really geared towards, very high net worth individuals making significant contributions.
All right, so direct land ownership is mostly out.
Yeah.
But people do buy property there. So what are the actual ways foreigners get their foot in the door?
Okay. The number one most straightforward way for a foreigner to own property directly is buying a condominium unit, an apartment.
Right. You can own the unit itself 100% in your name.
Correct. You get a clear title deed for that specific unit. It's yours.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
There is. It's called the foreign quota. Thai law says that foreigners collectively cannot own more than 49% of the total sellable floor space in any single condominium building.
Okay, so less than half the building can be foreign-owned.
Precisely. So before you even think about buying a specific condo, you absolutely must check if that building has already hit its 49% foreign ownership limit.
Because if it has...
You're out of luck for that building. You can't buy into it as a foreigner. It's a bit like trying to get into a popular club. Once it hits capacity, that's it. You need to find another building where the quota hasn't been filled.
Good to know. What about if you're dreaming more of a house, a villa, maybe with a garden? Condos aren't quite the same.
Right. For villas or plots of land, the most common route is a long-term leasehold agreement. This is really popular, especially in places like Phuket or Koh Samui.
So you don't own the land, but you lease it for a long time.
Exactly. You secure the right to use the land for a set period. Typically, the initial lease is for 30 years.
Just 30 years. That doesn't sound that long if you're building a home.
But crucially, these leases almost always include options to renew. Usually you can renew for another 30 years and often a third 30-year term after that, so potentially 90 years in total.
Okay, 90 years starts to sound much more like long-term security.
It provides a pretty strong sense of security and control for decades, even though you don't technically own the land itself. And here's something interesting.
On one.
Thai law actually allows foreigners to own the buildings or structures on the land separately from the land itself.
Really? So you could lease the land for 90 years and then own the actual house built on it.
Yes. You'd have the leasehold for the land, registered in your name, and you could also have separate ownership documents for the villa constructed on it. It gives you a tangible asset in your name.
That adds another layer of security, doesn't it? Okay, so condos or long-term leases, are there other common ways? What about setting up a company?
Yes, that's another frequently used strategy, particularly for buying land or villas where direct ownership or leasing isn't preferred. Setting up a Thai company.
How does that work?
The standard structure is a Thai limited company. Now, the key part here is the shareholding. At least 51% of the shares must be held by Thai nationals.
So the foreign buyer holds the minority stake, up to 49%.
Typically, yes. The foreigner holds up to 49%, making them the minority shareholder. The company, being majority Thai-owned, is legally considered a Thai entity, and it can then own the land.
Okay, that sounds like a workaround, but does it come with risks?
Oh, absolutely. And this is a huge warning. Using what are called nominee shareholders is illegal.
Nominees. You mean Thai people who are just holding shares for you on paper, but aren't really owners?
Exactly. People who don't have a genuine beneficial interest. The Thai authorities are very strict about this. They actively look for companies that seem like they were set up just to let a foreigner control land.
And if they suspect that.
They can challenge the company's land ownership. This can lead to serious legal battles, hefty fines, and potentially even the government ordering the company to sell the land. Forfeiture is a real risk.
Wow. So if you go the company route, it needs to be a legitimate business.
Absolutely vital. The company should ideally have some genuine business activity, not just exist solely to hold that one piece of property. It's a trade-off.
Yeah.
You get indirect ownership, may be useful for development, but there are ongoing costs, admin hassle, and this very real risk if you use nominees.
That's a critical point. Okay, what about a really common scenario? Marrying a Thai national. Does that simplify things?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But it's not quite as simple as just putting both names on the deed.
Ooh. How does it work then?
When a Thai national married to a foreigner buys property, they almost always have to make a declaration at the land department
A declaration about what?
that the money used for the purchase is the separate personal property of the Thai spouse, not marital assets.
I see. So it establishes the funds didn't come from the foreign spouse.
Correct. And usually the foreign spouse will also be required to sign a statement confirming this and effectively waiving any claim or rights over that specific property.
Meaning the property is registered solely in the Thai spouse's name.
That's typically how it works, yes. Which is why having a prenuptial agreement can be really, really helpful.
Clarify how assets are treated.
Exactly. A prenup can outline how property acquired during the marriage should be handled, protecting both parties' interests, especially if things unfortunately don't work out down the line.
Makes sense. One more potential pathway we should probably touch on is the Board of Investment, the BOI. Does that offer property rights?
Yes, but we need to be super clear here. This is not for buying your holiday home or retirement villa.
Okay, so who is it for?
It's for significant business investments. We're talking about companies making substantial capital investments in industries that Thailand wants to promote, manufacturing, tech, infrastructure, that sort of thing.
So large-scale business projects.
Precisely. If a foreign invested company gets BOI approval for its project, the BOI might grant that company the privilege to own land necessary for its approved business operations.
So the company owns the land, not the individual investor, and only for the business.
Correct. Maybe land for a factory site, for example. It's completely tied to the promoted business activity. It's a whole different ballgame from personal property acquisition.
Got it. Okay, so let's say someone's weighed the options, condo, lease, maybe even the company route with proper advice, and they're ready to move forward. That's exciting. But what are the actual practical steps involved in buying? It's probably not just signing a paper, right?
Definitely not. The first step, as we said, is choosing that ownership structure wisely. Condo, lease, company, get advice on what fits your situation. Then, finding a good, reputable real estate agent is crucial.
Especially someone local, like you mentioned Ocean Worldwide in Phuket.
Exactly. Someone who knows the local market, the pitfalls, the good areas, and operates transparently. They can be invaluable.
And if it's condo?
Job number 1. Verify that foreign quota. Is there still space within the 49% limit? You absolutely have to confirm this early on. Remember that club analogy, if it's full for foreigners, it's full.
Okay. Quota checked. What then?
Well, the general process usually looks something like this. First, the initial property search finding the right place. Then, crucial step, due diligence.
What does that involve?
This is usually where your lawyer steps in. They'll meticulously check the title deed, the shenote, verify there are no outstanding debts or mortgages attached to the property, check zoning, and confirm the seller actually has the legal right to sell it. This is non-negotiable, really important.
Don't skip the due diligence.
Never. Never! After that, assuming everything checks out, you'll typically sign a sales and purchase agreement and pay a deposit, usually 10–20%.
And then getting the rest of the money there.
Right, the fund transfer. And this is key. The money must be transferred into Thailand from overseas in a foreign currency.
Not in Thai baht.
No. It has to arrive as, say, US dollars or euros, and then be converted into Thai baht by the receiving bank in Thailand. This generates a vital document called a Foreign Exchange Transaction Form, or FE, sometimes called a THOR-TOR-SAM.
FET form. Why is that so important?
You absolutely need that FET form as proof of the fund transfer from overseas when you go to register the ownership at the land office. Without it, especially for condos, they won't register the property in your foreign name.
Okay, so FET form secured. What's the final step?
The final step is the registration of the transfer at the relevant local land department office. Both buyer and seller, or their lawyers, go, sign the final documents, pay the remaining balance and applicable taxes and fees, and the title deed is officially updated to reflect the new owner or leaseholder.
Sounds like having a good lawyer throughout this whole process is pretty essential.
Highly recommended, yes. Especially one specializing in Thai property law for foreigners.
Now, let's talk money for a second. We touched on the FET form, but what about just getting financing? Can foreigners get mortgages in Thailand?
That's often a sticking point. Generally speaking, Thai banks are quite reluctant to lend mortgages to non-residents.
So most foreigners pay cash?
The vast majority, yes. While it's not absolutely impossible to get a mortgage in some specific circumstances, maybe if you have long-term residency or substantial income in Thailand, it's definitely not the norm. So you usually need to have the full purchase price available upfront in cash.
Good to know. And we mentioned the FET form for currency regulations. Anything else on the money side? Taxes and fees?
Oh, yes. Definitely budget for additional costs beyond the purchase price. There's quite a few.
Like what?
Okay, there's a transfer fee, which is 2% of the government's assessed value, or the sale price, whichever is higher. This is often split 50-50 between buyer and seller, but negotiable.
Okay, 2%.
Then there's stamp duty, usually 0.5% of the price.
Okay.
This is typically paid if you're exempt from the specific business tax.
Specific business tax?
Yeah, that's 3.3%, and it usually applies if the seller has owned the property for less than 5 years. So either stamp duty or specific business tax, generally not both.
Right. What else?
There's withholding tax. It's calculated differently depending on if the seller is an individual or a company and how long they've owned it. For an individual selling, it's a progressive rate based on the holding period, maybe around 1% average. If a company is selling, it's a flat 1% of the price. Oh, wait, sorry, let me correct that. Withholding tax is 1% of the price if the seller is an individual. If a company is selling, the buyer might need to withhold 3% on service fees related to the transaction, but the company itself pays corporate income tax. There's also the specific business tax of 3.3% if sold within 5 years. It can get a bit complex.
Seems like another reason to have a lawyer manage the payments.
Definitely. And don't forget the legal fees themselves. These can vary widely depending on the complexity, but expect anything from, say, 20,000 Thai baht up to 100,000 baht, or even more for complex company structures or lease registrations.
Okay, so if you're buying a place for, let's say, 10 million baht, you need to factor in probably another, 3 to 5%, maybe more, just for these extra costs.
Easily. It's really important to budget for those transfer fees, duties, taxes, and legal costs right from the start, so there are no nasty surprises at closing.
Absolutely. Now, earlier you touched on leases and owning buildings separately. Are there other sort of specific property rights foreigners can use beyond the main paths?
Yes. Thai law allows for a few other registered rights that can be useful for foreigners, giving them ways to use or benefit from land without actually owning it.
What are they?
Well, one important one is called usufruct.
Usufructs, okay.
It's basically the right to use and enjoy someone else's property, live on it, cultivate it, collect rent or income from it, the fruits of the property.
For how long?
It can be granted for a specific period, up to a maximum of 30 years, or quite commonly for the entire lifetime of the person granted the right, the usufructuary.
And it's registered.
Yes, it's registered on the title deed, making it a real right that binds the property itself, even if the underlying owner sells the land. It's often used to give a foreign spouse long-term security on land owned by their Thai partner.
Okay, that sounds useful. What else?
There's superficies. This is the specific right we mentioned earlier, the right to own buildings, structures, or plantations on land owned by someone else.
So this legally separates ownership of the building from ownership of the land.
Exactly. Like usufruct, it's a registered right, can be granted for up to 30 years, often with renewal options, and allows a foreigner to legally own the structure itself.
Interesting. Any others?
There's also habitation rights. This is a bit like a limited usufruct. It grants the right to live in a property owned by someone else.
Just lives there, not rented out.
Correct. Unlike usufruct, habitation doesn't include the right to generate income from the property. It's strictly for personal dwelling by the grantee and their family. It's also personal and cannot be transferred.
I see. More limited.
And finally, there are servitude agreements, which are basically easements in Western terms.
But right of way.
Exactly. A servitude grants a specific right over one piece of land for the benefit of another piece of land or person. Common examples are rights of way for access to a road or the right to lay utility pipes across a neighboring property. Once registered, it becomes a real right attached to the land.
So these usufructs, superficies, habitation, servitude, they offer different ways to secure use or benefit from property, but they're definitely not the same as owning the land freehold.
Not at all. They are legal tools to achieve specific goals within the framework that restricts foreign land ownership. Each has its own specific rules and limitations that need careful understanding.
Right. Which brings us back to being careful. Buying property anywhere involves risks, but it seems especially true in Thailand for foreigners given the legal complexities. What are the main things people really need to watch out for?
Well, we already flagged the big one regarding company ownership. The risk of challenges if it looks like a nominee structure. The government is serious about preventing foreigners from using shell companies just to hold land if they investigate and find it's not legitimate.
Fines, legal trouble, maybe losing the property.
Exactly. That's a major risk if it's not set up correctly and genuinely.
What about market risks? Is Thailand property always a good investment?
Like any market, it has its ups and downs. You absolutely cannot just assume property values will always go up, even in popular spots like Phuket or Samui. There's market volatility. You really need to do your homework on local trends, future development plans, and the overall economic climate before buying. Don't rely on speculation alone.
Sound advice anywhere, really. And legal penalties. You mentioned fines and jail time earlier.
Yes, understanding the penalties for violating the land code is crucial. Getting the legal side wrong isn't just a minor administrative issue. As we said, the Land Code Act does specify potential fines and even imprisonment up to 2 years for foreigners illegally acquiring land or for Thais helping them do so through nominee arrangements.
So trying to cut corners or ignore the rules could have really severe consequences.
Absolutely. If you, say, bought a condo unit and it turned out the foreign quota was already full, your purchase could potentially be ruled invalid later on. It just reinforces the need for proper legal advice and making sure everything is done completely by the book from day one.
It definitely sounds like being well-informed and cautious is the name of the game.
If we try to tie all this together, connected to the bigger picture, the fundamental point remains. Direct ownership of land by foreigners in Thailand is, generally speaking, not allowed. The law is firm, but that doesn't mean the door is closed. There are established, perfectly legal ways for foreigners to secure property. Owning a condominium unit is the most direct ownership possible as long as you're within that 49% quota.
Or the long-term leases.
Exactly. Long-term leaseholds, potentially up to 90 years, offer excellent security for land and villas. Setting up a Thai company is another route, provided, and this is the crucial bit, it's done legitimately, respecting the 51% Thai shareholding rule without resorting to illegal nominees.
And then there are the specific rules around marriage to a Thai national, usually involving the property being in the Thai spouse's name.
Correct. Each path has its own process, its own benefits, and its own things to watch out for.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, thinking about that place in the sun?
Well, it might seem a bit complex, maybe even a little daunting at first.
You can feel that way.
But hopefully what we've unpacked today shows that with the right knowledge, and definitely the right professional advice lawyers, reputable agents like Ocean Worldwide, perhaps getting your own slice of Thai property is absolutely achievable. It really comes down to understanding the options and choosing the legal pathway that best fits your specific situation and goals.
Whether that's a chic condo in Bangkok, a beautiful beachfront villa down in Phuket, or maybe a quiet retreat on Koh Samui, the possibilities are there if you navigate the system correctly. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering all these different, sometimes intricate but ultimately workable pathways to securing property in Thailand, what kind of long-term vision might you have for owning or controlling a piece of this beautiful country now that you know the creative legal solutions that actually exist?